First tonight, a young newlywed from Hampton Wick is bracing himself for death as the drugs he needs to fight cancer were deemed too expensive. Jed Alexander, who was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago, says dasatinib and nilotinib could save his life. They're already available on the NHS in Scotland and Wales, but NICE, the independent body who decides if they should be allowed in England, say there's no proof the drugs are any more effective than current treatments. Margaret Fjord has this story.
Jed Alexander is fighting for his life. 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia. But not only is he battling against cancer, the 31-year-old has now been told that the drugs he needs are too expensive for the NHS.
These aren't just drugs that are going to prolong my life by 3 months or 6 months or something, which I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that either, which I certainly think that should be the case. But these are drugs that can potentially extend mine and many others' lives by decades, and they're not making them available to us. I don't know what that says about our country when it comes to cancer care.
When Jed got married last year, he hoped it would be the start of a new life. But he says NICE's preliminary decision not to recommend the use of dasatinib and nilotinib on the NHS has robbed him of his future. The drugs are available in Scotland, America and other parts of the world. It would cost the NHS about £30,000 a year to provide Jed with either one of these new cancer treatments. But although no final decision has been made, NICE, based here in High Holborn, says that the cost is too high for the benefit these drugs appear to provide. But Jed says their recommendation is based on flawed evidence and has asked his MP, Vincent Cable, for help.
This is a case where elementary humanity and common sense coincide. We've got a very small number of people with a fatal illness, new drugs available, very powerful clinical support from the consultants. Overseas in Europe, Australia, elsewhere, it is universally the case that this drug is made available. So why can it not happen here?
Without the drugs, Jed's life expectancy is less than 5 years.
There's a chance I wouldn't make 40, and if I was to have children with my wife, I wouldn't see them grow up, if I get to have children at all. But with them, I can live a full life.
Margaret Fjord, London Tonight, Hampton Wick.
Some more headlines for you now. A man in his 30s has been charged with the murder of an 88-year-old woman in Southend on New Year's Day. Rosina Waller died from head injuries at her home in Johnston Road. Hassan Salahi has also been charged with the attempted murder of a 64-year-old man at the same address. Police were out in Shoreditch in the early hours of this morning appealing for information surrounding the death of Jamie O'Sullivan, who was killed a week ago. The 27-year-old from Bethnal Green ran into the road at Old Street and was hit by a car at around 4:30 a.m. the day after Boxing Day. It's thought Jamie could have been involved in a fight nearby and was being chased when the fatal collision occurred. And the family of the Kentish Town minicab driver executed for drug smuggling in China has called on the government to order an immediate inquest into the death. Akmal Shaikh was given a lethal injection after being caught with more than 4 kilos of heroin, despite appeals for clemency, and claims that he was mentally ill. The Prime Minister has given the go-ahead for full-body scanners to be introduced at all of London's airports. Heathrow will be the first to get the machines. The scanners produce naked images of passengers to remove the need for a pat-down search. Campaigners are concerned about privacy, but Gordon Brown says the move is necessary to prevent terrorism.
I talked to Andrew Adonis this morning about it. You can't be convinced of the absolute proof of the working at 100% level of any technology. That's absolutely true. But this will be better than what we've got. It will be dealing with a problem that people have identified. We've found that there is a new form of explosive that was not being detected by ordinary machines. We've got to go further.
Commuters travelling across the capital will notice they've been hit by higher fares when they return to work tomorrow. Ticket prices on the tube and buses have gone up, in some cases as much as 12%. But passengers using suburban overland rail services could get cheaper fares as the so-called oysteration of London has come into force. Well, to find out how it affects you, we can go now to Dominic Velitis, who's at King's Cross Forest this evening. Dominic.
Well, these fare increases were actually brought into force yesterday, so it won't be until tomorrow that the vast majority of us actually start to feel the pinch. So how does it all break down? Well, the average tube fare has now gone up by nearly 4%. Bus passengers, meanwhile, according to official figures, will see fare increases of nearly 13%. So what does it mean for your wallet or your purse? Well, most single journeys on the tube will now cost you 20 pence more. On the buses, meanwhile, the single journey price there has increased from £1 to £1.20, so a 20 pence increase there as well. They are increases which, according to London's Mayor Boris Johnson, are absolutely essential. That said, the critics have already been lining up.
Basically, we're seeing a 30% increase in bus fares over a 2-year period, and it is a big increase. If you're somebody working on the minimum wage in London, then you'll really feel this in your pocket. It is a big increase for people to bear. We're in the middle of a recession, and a lot of people are now working shorter hours or struggling to make ends meet, and I think it's very much the worst time you could have put the fares up in London.
Well, that's the situation with the buses and the tubes. What about the congestion charge? Well, I'm afraid that too is on the up. An increase of 25% to £10 for those using existing payment methods. It's not all bad news, though. Those of you who use mainline train routes within Greater London will now be able to use your Oyster cards, which could mean cheaper fares depending on which company is providing the service you're travelling on. And finally, National Rail commuters as well will see fare decreases of at least 0.4%, which, according to the government, is the first fall in a generation.
Dominic, thank you very much indeed. Next, he's one of the West End's biggest stars. Jason Donovan's had lead roles in productions like Joseph, Sweeney Todd and more recently Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Well, now the Aussie actor is taking the lead in a new campaign. He wants more of us to swap a night in front of the telly for a night in front of the stage. Here's Nick Thatcher.
For most of 2009, life was a drag for Jason Donovan, quite literally. Yes, that's him on the left, dressed in the flip-flops. And as the star of one of the hottest new West End shows last year, the Aussie actor is thrilled to be once again centre stage.
In this day and age, it's really nice to be part of something that is pretty successful. So, you know, but again, at the key, at the bottom of that is a great story, some wonderful songs, and, you know, a sort of group of people that work extremely well together. So there's a great chemistry.
And as we enter the new year, Jason's also the leading man in a new role, a campaign to get more of us to leave our tellies and get back into theatre. Priscilla is one of 55 top London shows offering cut-price tickets for the next month. And from Sister Act to Stomp, there's something for everyone.
If people haven't seen shows like yours before, then this really is the time to do it, isn't it?
There is a lot of people that are lazy, that would prefer to watch their plasma televisions. And to a certain degree, I don't blame you. It's cold outside. But there are gaps in everyone's diary. And I'm sure there are people that want to see shows, but say they can't afford to see shows. Well, now is the opportunity to grab hold of some reasonably priced tickets.
Of course, Jason is no stranger to the London stage, but he's come a long way from soap star and then pop heartthrob.
I close my eyes.
And 2010 promises a new album and a new role in Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds. So is reinvention the key to his continuing success?
It's not easy. You know, there is anxiety that I go through each day. And that hasn't changed for 20 years for me. I still get nervous, you know. I still find singing quite difficult. It doesn't come from a natural place for me. You've just got to keep working hard at things, be a little bit lucky along the way, and be prepared to take a few risks as well. Challenge yourself, you know, go outside the box. Things that make you a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive, go for it, you know.
Get Into London Theatre runs until the 12th of February. It really is your chance to love the nightlife for less. Nick Thatcher, London Tonight, Central London.
And you'll be humming those tunes for the rest of the weekend, I'm sure. OK, time for the weather now. Here's Manar. Well, that's all from the London team for now. We'll be back tomorrow during GMTV. That's just after 6:30 in the morning, of course. London Tonight, back at the normal time of 6 o'clock. Until then, enjoy your evening, what's left of the weekend, and, of course, what's left of the Christmas holidays too. Goodbye for now. Good night.